schools that participate in EU Code Week. And I think Ireland is one of the countries that had the most events in Code Week last year. So it's definitely something that we can be proud of. So to talk about how incorporating code and how incorporating technology is really changing our classroom and has the potential to change how teaching and learning looks, I'm going to invite our first keynote speaker of the afternoon to the stage. It's Dr. Johnny Ryan, who's founder of Toolkit.ie. He was also Executive Director of the Innovation Academy at UCD, and the Innovation Academy at UCD really try and bring in the third level students and third level academics into bringing entrepreneurship, creativity and ideas to the fore in the Innovation Academy. He also established a research and development program with SFI in the Irish Times and brought startups into the Irish Times as well. If you were here yesterday, you would have heard our panel discussion about bringing innovation and entrepreneurship into education. Our kids have so many good ideas. How can we harness that and how can we do more with it? So please give a warm round of applause to Dr. Johnny Ryan, who's going to talk about shaping our digital revolution.
Evie, thank you very much. Thanks a million. So I've changed jobs in the last month and a half, and I'm going to describe this week. It's been a wonderful week, capped off with some momentous events today. Monday and Tuesday, I've been working on a project to develop a new type of children's book. It's a book I'm writing with my own new baby daughter, Nina, in mind. She was born on New Year's Eve. And I want this book to explain to Nina how we got to the digital world we have now. Wednesday, I was out in Roscrea with an amazing company called Herdwatch. We're working on product development. What new data can we serve to the farmer in the field that's going to help he or she to improve their stock? And then Thursday and Friday, I was in Irish Times training, delivering something related to Toolkit, part of Toolkit, working with senior executives and decision makers and helping them understand how to bring design thinking into their organizations. So I want to share with you this morning one of my favorite ways to start working with a new team. And you'll notice on your table, in no particular order, an interesting array of what looks like junk. If you have eaten your lunch and are not still hungry, you'll notice there is one marshmallow. Please don't eat it at this point, having now noticed it. You'll notice 20 sticks of raw spaghetti. You'll notice around about a foot of string, and you'll notice around about a foot of tape. If you're in the last 2 rows of the room, would you please come forward? There's an almost completely empty table here and there, because you need to be at a table that has this equipment. In the next 18 minutes, we're going to do a challenge, and I want you to see what the challenge is. So here's the instruction. What we're going to try and do in the next 18 minutes is to build a structure that carries that marshmallow the highest off the table that you can get it. That's the challenge. Now, if you had a long enough piece of string, it would be illegal for you to suspend the marshmallow off the ceiling. Luckily, we don't have that long piece of string. You can break the pasta, you can break the tape. Don't break the marshmallow, but you can pierce it. So are we clear on the direction and what we need to do? You're getting the marshmallow the highest off the table that you can, just with the build materials that you have. And there are 2 gentlemen at the back who are looking a bit sheepish. One guy just looked at the exit. Sirs, would you please join us a little bit closer to me? I'm going to be walking down among the tables over the next 18 minutes. So guys, 18 minutes. Some of you will never have worked together before. This is a really interesting way to work with a new team. I'm going to start playing music, and your countdown begins now, and the marshmallow has to be on top of the structure in the 18th minute. 18 minutes and counting. So lads, are you clear? Do you get what we're doing? Yeah, cool. Guys, do you get what we're doing? You get it? Okay. You're all set? You get what we're doing? Any hesitation? Okay, good. How are you guys? Do you understand any questions? Okay, you probably need to be standing and moving and get stuck in. Guys, you know what we need to do? Yeah? Great. Okay. How are we doing here? You know what we're doing? got it? Yeah. If anybody in the room has previously done this challenge, would you please put your hand up because I have a very special request to make of you. Has anyone done the marshmallow challenge before? Are you sure? There's a few people I'm wondering. If you have, then you are part of a lucky team of observers, and you are going to be helping us track the progress of everyone else, okay? So you're an observer if you've done this before. Question. Okay, 16 minutes, 30 seconds. Any questions, guys? No? You got it? Right. Any questions? It's clear? Any questions? Good. We need to have the main weight of the marshmallow at the top, so you could puncture it. But if you were using it to support your stuff, you failed because most of the marshmallow wouldn't be at the top. You failed. Ladies, any questions? Jenna? No? You okay? You get it? Okay. Any questions, guys? We had one very clever question, which is, can we use tables and chairs and that? No. Good hustle, though. Is it clear, guys? Any questions? You get what we're doing? This is promising. You're winning, actually. Any questions? You get it? Okay. Guys, how are you doing? Any questions? Do you know what we got to do? Do you understand the idea? We want to get that marshmallow the highest off the table. Okay. No, you're stuck on the tape you have. Any questions, guys? Does it make sense? Yeah? Guys, you know what you're doing? Was I asking any questions? Does it make sense? You don't have to use all the material. You just have to get it the highest. Guys, any questions? Is it working out? Do you know what you need to do? Yeah? Great. 14 minutes. 14 minutes. Looks like you guys are okay. No issues. You're all set. You're winning. You're winning. How are you guys doing over here?
We're doing fantastic.
No, you're only using the material that you have. But that's a really good idea. Sorry, not the paper and not the tablecloth, but good question. Those guys over there wanted to use the chairs. Think big. Okay, 13 and a half minutes. 13 and a half minutes. Okay. Everyone, can I turn your attention to this table where they're building a structure that's already at this height? 13 and a half minutes left, and we're at around about this height over here. Just so you know, no pressure.
Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. See, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to sing hello. Up to the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, the purple, and yellow. But first, I gotta bang, bang.
No. It's just the spaghetti, just the masking tape, just the marshmallow, and the thread.
That'll make your body rock. Well, so far you've heard my voice, but I brought two friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song. check it out. I'm the CASN, the OVA, and the
Ooh.
rest is
Ooh.
FLY. You see, I
Very
go
good.
by the code of the doctor of the mix. And these
Wow.
reasons I'll tell you why. You see, I'm 6'1" and I'm tons of fun, and I dress
Great.
to a T.
Great.
You see, I got more clothes than Muhammad Ali, and I dress so viciously. I got bodyguards, I got 2 big guards, that definitely ain't the whack. I got a Lincoln Continental,
There is
and
no
a
answer. This is
sunroof
really frustrating.
Cadillac.
How are you guys doing?
After school, I take a dip in the pool, which is really on the wall. I got a color
no,
TV,
afraid
so
not.
I can see the Knicks play basketball. Him and talking my checkbook, cause it costs more money than a sucker could ever spend. But I wouldn't give a sucker or a punk from the rock and not a dime till I made it again.
That's okay. Feel free to give advice.
What you gonna do today? Is I'm gonna get a fly girl, gonna get some spank and drive off in a death OJ. Everybody go hotel, motel, holiday. Say if your girl starts acting up, then you take her friend.
Yeah.
I'm Master J.
It's supporting its own
I'm
weight,
up, let low. It's on you. So what you
This looks
gonna
promising.
do?
Well, it's on and on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I said a M-A-S, a T-E-R.
Okay, 11 minutes, 30 seconds.
I said I go by the unforgettable.
7.5 minutes have gone.
Call a Master G. Well, my name is known all over the world by all the foxy ladies and the pretty girls. I'm going down in history as the baddest rapper that ever could be. Now I'm feeling the highs and you're
Interesting.
feeling the lows. The beat starts getting into
11
it.
minutes.
Start popping your fingers and stomping your feet and moving your body while you're sitting and you're sitting. Then damn, they start doing the freak. I said bam, right out of your seat. Then you throw your hands high in the air. You're rocking to the rhythm, shake your dairy air. You're rocking to the beat without a care. With the short shot MCs for the affair. Now I'm not as tall as the rest of the gang, but I rap to the beat just the same. I got a little face and a pair of brown eyes. All I'm here to do, ladies, is hypnotize. Sing it on and on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I sing it on and on.
You caught my eye because your marshmallow was kind of hovering up here, and then as I came over it, I'll be back.
I guess by now you can take a hunch and find that I am the baby of the bunch, but that's okay. I still keep it
Ooh,
strong, 'cause all
that
I'm
looks
here to
promising.
do is just wiggle
Looks
your
good.
behind. Sing it on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I sing it on and on and on and on and on. Rock, yo, throw it on the floor. I'm gonna freak you here, I'm gonna freak you there. I'm gonna move you out of this atmosphere, 'cause I'm one of a kind and I'll shock your mind. I put the jig jiggers in your behind. I say the 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, girls, get it on the floor. Come alive, yo, give me what you got, 'cause I'm guaranteed to make you rock. I said 1, 2, 3, 4. Tell me Wonder Mike, what are you waiting for?
To the hip, hop, the hippie to the hip, the hip, hip, hop, you don't stop.
10 minutes left. 10 minutes.
The boogie to the rhythm of the boogie beat. Well, skittle me bop, we rock a Scooby-Doo. And guess what? America, we love you. Because it rocks in a row with us so much so you can rock till you're 101 years old. I don't mean to brag, I don't mean to boast, but we're like hot butter on a breakfast toast. Rock it out. Baby bubba to the boogie to
How's it going, lads? How are you doing?
It's so unique. Come on, everybody, and dance to the beat.
That's going to be hard. Okay, keep at it. Keep at it. So it looks like you guys have a big grand plan. Have you tried to sound of it yet?
Hip, hop, you don't
Okay,
stop.
cool.
Rock it out, baby, bubba to the boogity bang bang, the boogie to the boogity beat.
I like that.
To the end of the week, when I rap it to the rhythm of a groovy beat, and attempt to raise your body heat, or just blow your mind so with that you can speak and do a thing, but I rock and shuffle your feet, and let it change up to a dance come a freak, and when you finally do come into your rhythmic beat, rest a little while so you don't get weak. I know a
How are you
man,
guys doing?
He has more rhymes than a serious bank, so come
you
on,
got some
man.
ice?
I sing that song until the rhythm of the boogie to bang bang the bomb. Well, I'm imp the dimp, the ladies pimp, the women fight for my delight, but I'm the grand master with the 3 MCs that shock the house for the young ladies. And when you come inside into the front, you do the freak spank and do the bump, and when the sucker MCs try to prove a point with Trent's trio, or when the serious joiner from sun to sun and from day to day, I sit down
8
to
minutes.
a brand new rhyme because the
Guys, 8 minutes, 10 minutes has passed. More than halfway through. Starting to run out of time. You need to start building in height. And if you wish, you might like to take a look around the room at what other tables are doing. You might like to get up and take a tour around and steal some ideas.
time like I never did before. She said, damn, fly guy, I'm in love with you. The Casanova legend must have been true. I said, by the way, baby, what's your name? Said I go by the name Lois Lane, and you can be my boyfriend, you surely can. Just let me quit my boyfriend called Superman. I said, he's a fairy, I do suppose, flying through the air in pantyhose. He may be very sexy or even cute, but he looks like a sucker in a blue and red. Across his chest, he may be able to fly all through the night, but can't the early light. He can't satisfy you with his little worm, but I can bust you out with my super sperm. I go do it, I go do it, I go do it, do it, do it. And I'm here, and I'm there. I'm Big Bang Hank, I'm everywhere. I just throw your hands up.
Okay, guys, we're in the final 7 minutes. 7 minutes. This is where it gets a bit tense. 7 minutes. Oh, wow. Over at this table, we're at about 2 feet, I think, or a foot and a half. About here. Oh, we were. That looks promising. That looks good. Oh. It's beautiful though. It's just beautiful. It's lovely. How are you guys doing? Just a table full of smiley faces. 6 minutes. Final 6 minutes. No. Wow. So are you guys John, you're not going for any more nights? You don't have to. Okay. Could be a smart idea. So it can't be on another object. And guys, if you're feeling alone, maybe stand up, take a look at some of the other teams, see what they're doing. There are people who have done steal some ideas. How are you guys doing? So, you have 5.5 minutes left. You can probably do this in 2 minutes. I would stand up and take a look at the other tables. Just go ahead and steal some ideas. Give it another crack. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That looks good. That looks good. 4.5 minutes. 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Looks good. Looks good. Now, if you're going to rest on your laurels, that's a good strategy. You need to stand up and go and see if anyone else has, like for example them, if they're at the same level as you. So, I was telling them they need to come over and look at you guys. You're around about the same level, and you're both stopping. Have a think about it. 4 minutes. Final 4 minutes. Yeah, that looks good, doesn't it? How are you doing over here? Well, you want it to fall apart now and not later. This is good. 3.5 minutes. We're coming into the final stretch, which is why I'm playing Nina Simone.
You can have him. He's not worth fighting for. Besides, there's plenty more where he came from.
2.5 minutes. We're coming up to the final stretch.
We are
2 minutes, 20 seconds. 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Tables where they decided to stop building. So, for example, complete this whole thing in 1 minute. So I'd have another. Keep going. 1 minute, 50 seconds. That's kind of okay. Interesting. 1 minute, 40 seconds. Where'd you get the spaghetti? 1 minute 40 seconds. 1 minute 30. 1 minute 30. 120. It's pretty good. Now, if you're leaving it now, 1 minute 10 seconds. Take a look at some of the other tables where they have a steady state, and it's pretty high. So you might make one last sprint at it. 1 minute, final minute, 17 minutes gone. 50 seconds. 50 seconds. Guys, I need you to be observers and checking the heights. So, sorry. 40 seconds. So just disperse, and when you find something tall, stand at it, and make sure they're letting go. 30. 20. Final 20 seconds. Final 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, hands off. Hands off. Okay, guys, hands off the marshmallows. The yellow shirts are going around, and they're going to find the people who have the tallest structures. The tallest structures that are still standing. Guys, do you have any candidates? One over here. One over here, one over there. Anyone else? We have an honorable mention that we have to come back to over here. I like it. I like it. Okay, so we've got 2 possibilities and one over there. Okay. Okay. Can we use your lanyard to measure that? Just take your lanyard off and measure it. Where's the other one near here? Oh, it fell over. Okay, you guys are behind here. Yeah, just measure the thing. No, ours is just far away. Okay, okay. Okay, we may have a winner over here. Oh yeah. Okay, round of applause. We have a victor. Woo! And I have to commend you because these guys finished about 8 minutes ago, and I kept saying, hey, look at that, that's taller. And they refused to keep building. So well done. So guys, thanks for
You thought we deserved an honorable mention.
I like that you put your chair on top of the table. That's very good. Thanks for going through this exercise with me. The reason why it is worth, guys, the reason why it is worth going through an exercise like this is because we all make this same mistake. And this, oh no, leave the chair on the table, please. No, I'm kidding. We all make the same mistake. We are highly educated, or we're in the process of being deeply educated, and we assume that when we come up with a brilliant plan, all we have to do is wait and then drop the marshmallow on in the final moment. And there's a table down the end where I said, okay, it's time to build it now. And they said, no, we know it's going to fall over. So we're going to keep building the components and then stick it together. And I thought that was a rare moment of honesty. So this is an animated illustration of what you have all just experienced. You are sure that you've got some semblance of a plan and you're going to execute on that plan. This, by the way, could be building a major piece of infrastructure. This could be building a new curriculum, but this is what invariably we nearly always do. And in the 18th minute, and you're probably over time and over budget, but in the 18th minute you drop the marshmallow on top and what happens? The whole thing collapses. Nearly every time. So for the people, faulty materials indeed, yes. So for the team who won, there's a reason why they won. They were done 8 minutes before everyone else. They had put the marshmallow on early, it had collapsed maybe a few times, and then they got it up to a point where it works. Now, I find this exercise deeply interesting. It's not just a fun thing to do and a nice way to network with people. I spent, I'm going to put up a slide that plugs my own book. I can't help it, I do it every time I'm in front of a screen. I spent about 1.5 years of my life trying to better understand the digital age that we were adapting to. And in the process of researching this thing, I did it while I was working on my PhD and doing some consulting projects. In the process of writing this book, what I realized was that everyone in this room, it doesn't matter what the age is, we're all part of a hinge generation. We're alive at this hinge in history. For us, the world that we were born to is run by the industrial assumptions, the industrial norms. I'll explain what I mean about that in a sec. And we're having to adapt to a world that is totally different. So think of the technologies that shaped our world. Railroad, telegraph, steam and steel. And the technologies that are sliding past you, they're all those that created our world. This is HMS Dreadnought. Everything about this ship is about standards hierarchy. The idea that the same shell could fit into any other barrel of the same caliber, or the idea that every rivet fit every hole perfectly and was watertight, that's the idea that makes our world work. And the world that these technologies shape looks a lot like this. This is a map of the imperial possessions from 1896, I think, and it doesn't pick it out particularly well on this slide, but you'll notice certain areas of the world are a nice sunny pink, and that means that they are imperial possessions, and for them all roads lead to London. Now this is one diagram, I could have picked many, but this is a diagram of the order of the industrial era. It's an era of hubs and spokes, and what we're adapting to is a completely different pattern. And what I want to do now is to just paint a kind of a large, big picture, contextual picture of everything that we've been talking about over the last 2 days. Think about when this started to change. It's not today or yesterday. It started to change in the 60s. And it probably changed around about 1961. So this is the largest ever thermonuclear detonation ever in the world. Tsar-Bomba, Big Ivan. It's a Soviet test shot. And around about the time that this happened, nuclear missiles were moving to a new technology. They were moving from liquid fuel to solid state fuel. And that matters. It meant that you could launch a nuke against your opponent at a second's notice, or rather 5 minutes notice, instead of having to refuel the missile for 8 hours. Now what this meant is that 1 or 2 very, very clever researchers got very, very worried. This is a document, probably one of the more important documents of the last century. It's written by a chap called Paul Baran. And Baran was working at the Rand Corporation in the United States. And his fear is that if it were easy to nuke the other side, one detonation on the ground and another in the ionosphere would destroy communications. And that would mean that the other side would not be able to nuke us back, which would mean we would probably nuke them or they would nuke us first. There was an incentive for one side to try and nuke the other. So Baran is writing this document on distributed communications. And what he says is, this idea of having centers for control of our communications is a terrible idea. It makes us vulnerable. So back to that diagram from 1962. This is the world as he found it. It's the network as he found it. And what Baran says is, this central node is a vulnerability. We have to get rid of the central node. What if we could empower each other previously subordinate node with an equal level of authority and power? Now, this document, this is decades old, but when I look at this diagram, I see the world as it's beginning to be shaped. I see campaign finance, micro donations, the slings and arrows of insults on social media. This is what life is beginning to look like increasingly for all of us. As teachers or as students, this might be a little bit more familiar to you now increasingly than the old hub and spoke idea. So let's take a look at how this starts. The first thing that happens is that Baran is completely ignored, and his plan, revolutionary though it is shelved for about 7 years. And finally, the network starts to grow from 4 nodes and yada, yada, yada. It grows until finally it's on both coasts and there's a certain degree of activity on it. Now, the reason why this early digital network, the ARPANET, was established was so that every time you set up a new research center, the government, in this case, DARPA, didn't have to pay for a gigantic machine like this. You could dial into someone else's gigantic machine. So the idea now was, we're setting up this network to save the taxpayer money. That's the notion. But in truth, once you have all of these scientists connected on this initial network, what is it that they actually use the network for? They use it to talk about science fiction. So the most popular use of the network at the very, very earliest days was science fiction lovers mailing list. The second most popular traffic was the Wine Appreciation Society. The third most popular was a group on how to hack the network. And the fourth was tech support. And for me, when I realized this, I realized that this idea that social media was going to take off, that's been in the technology from the beginning, that it's always been social. But what that also means, possibly, is that authority is changing. And in the relationship, and I asked that question earlier about Proofrock, in the relationship of authority between teachers and students, this stuff really matters. So what does it mean when authority is changing? If you take a look at the most popular websites right now on the web, I did a quick poll using alexa.com. You get this top 10 list. So in the last week, roughly, this is the most popular stuff on the web. Now let's strip out anything that is not of itself content. So something that's a portal or a search engine is now gone, right? So now we have a top 5. Everything in that top 5 list is user generated. This is potentially scary. When I was working in the Irish Times, this was very scary. But it took us a while to learn this. Back in 2005, Time magazine was excoriated. People thought the editors were getting lazy when they said that you are the person of the year. But actually, Time nailed it. Instead of putting on a dictator or a fashion model or whatever on the cover, they were right in saying it's you. And in the first of a few terribly off-piste examples, I'm going to give you an example of a top-down, very dogmatic, hierarchical organization that took a while to learn this lesson. Right after 9/11, now my own research was on militant Islamist stuff, so there's a reason I'm using this. Right after 9/11, bin Laden is being interviewed in Karachi Umat, and he's asked the question, did you do this? And if so, why? Please explain yourself. And the answer he gives, which is written up here, is essentially, we're not in the customer care business. We're not going to explain ourselves. We're going to do things, and you're going to find out about them when we've done them. That was bin Laden in 2001. Now, in the space of 7 years, things have changed so much that his number 2, Ayman al-Zawahiri, goes out to the web and requests people to send in questions. He gets hundreds of questions, and they publish this document. It's over 1,000 pages long. This is a US translation. And just look at the language that he responds to the public with. And I hope that those who have sent in their questions have not become upset by the passing of some time between the posing of the questions and the giving of the answers. Allah knows that I did my best to make the answers come close after the questions. This is what we hear when we've been waiting too long in the queue at Marks and Spencer. This is customer service. So this is an organization or a set of people who wanted to push ideas, who have realized that actually there's a lot of pushback coming on the other side. And for anyone who was in the tech space in the 2000s, there was a moment when the web moved to what we started to call Web 2.0. And what that really meant was, because of Ajax and some other technologies, the normal software cycle had changed. So if anyone's into the Maker movement, you'll know of a guy called Dale Dougherty who set up Maker. Dale was speaking at the O'Reilly Tech Conference in 2004, and he's talking to a whole lot of software developers and coders, and he says, guys, when you're developing a new package, what you do is you have a crummy version that you share with your mates. It's called a pre-alpha. They give you feedback. Based on that feedback, you get an alpha. You share it with more people, and so on, until finally you're happy enough with it that you've got your release candidate. And your release candidate gets burnt onto a DVD-ROM, shrink-wrapped, and sent out to the store, and it never changes. So what Dale told people back in 2004 is, because people can start to talk back online, and because the web is behaving more like software than just stuff you read or listen to, you should never have a release candidate. You should have things perpetually in beta. And after that moment, beta became such a great buzzword that restaurants started to use beta after their names. Now, it's hard for us to remember how difficult this was for people to get their heads around. So just think another reasonably extreme example. So St. Jerome was commissioned by Pope Damascus in 380 AD. And Damascus says to Jerome, we have all of these texts. I want you to put these texts together and make a Bible out of them. Right? So this is how our Bible was created. St. Jerome's job was to put all these things together. And over 1,000 years later, at the Council of Trent, we get this decree. If you deviate from the Bible in any respect, we are going to come after you. So you have this organization across Christendom, and its entire focus is to have one text from which nobody deviates. And around about the same time, about 100 years later, this guy, Erasmus, says, it's impossible for us to duplicate this Bible perfectly. We don't have the technology. So you have monks working on animal hides with berry juice by candlelight, and they don't have this thing. And what you get is this plastic information that changes. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. This is the 13th century Paris Bible. When I look at this, I see art. I don't see information. When I zoom into the margin, I see that things have been changed and edited. It's a really human thing. It's living, and it's beautiful. But it's only when I look at a Gutenberg Bible, and this is the one in the New York Library, I look at this and I see ordered, fixed information. I'm comfortable with it. That's what my generation's comfortable with. Now think about what someone growing up is looking at. They're looking at Wikipedia. We're all looking at Wikipedia. If you pick any controversial topic on Wikipedia, you're going to get this caveat. And the caveat essentially reads, thanks for coming to Encyclopedia. Don't believe anything you read here. That's what Wikipedia says to you. Now, it says that for a very good reason. If you take a look at the edits of any controversial article on Wikipedia, you're going to end up with something like this. I pulled this out in Excel. Each line is an edit. An edit could be a changed piece of punctuation, a spelling correction, or an entire paragraph or page being changed. So we're going to scroll through 2 years of edits to the article Jihad. Okay, we're scrolling. And what we're passing through is 36 A4 pages with each line being an edit. Now, who in the right mind would believe this information if it's so plastic and malleable? So there's a question about authority, and there's a question about the information age that we live in. There was a time before where information was plastic and flexible, and we were born in this weird red anomaly in the middle. And we have to adapt back to that pre-print era. So the idea is that information is plastic again. And this leads to something really interesting. If the user is increasingly empowered, if the user's king online, if the network is less about hubs and spokes and authority and more about the nodes being empowered, and if information is plastic and more things are up for grabs, this probably means the quirkiness is now going to be back, probably back in a big way. So I'm going to show you a picture of 3 incredibly important human beings. This is John Pastel. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. That's Steve Crocker. That's Vint Cerf. These are 3 of the main people who first set out what the Internet protocols are. You'll notice that that map is very similar to that map I showed you with the 4 machines connected to it. And unusually, for people who have invented a technology that changed the entire order of the world, they are talking to each other through telephones that appear to be using, what is that fruit? A gherkin or something? Anyway, So there's something unusual about these guys. Now, I'm going to show you a document and pick out some bits in the document. This is one of the memos that these guys were sending to each other when they were inventing the internet. I'm going to pick out some of the language. First, this series of memos is called the RFCs, Request for Comments. The language of these documents is entirely open, it's entirely collaborative, it's not about imposing authority. The first one was written by Steve Crocker on the bathroom floor of his friend's house. He didn't want to wake people up. That's an amazing thing to say about a document that changed the world. So here's document 3, and they're describing how this group's working. The network working group seems to consist of ... Membership is not closed. Notes may be produced by anybody. Content may be any thought, suggestion, etc. The minimum length for a network working group is 1 sentence. And finally, we hope to promote the exchange of considerably less than authoritative ideas. This is the kind of tone that these guys who changed the world were taking. And it is the opposite, for anyone who ever did business studies, it's the opposite of the Taylorite order. So Frederick Taylor, some call him the father of management consulting. This is the guy who started to standardize how we all ought to work. As the industrial era kicks off and factory production becomes a big thing, you start to have a problem with craftspeople. In Frederick Taylor's mind, and he was right at the time, a craftsperson was uncontrollable. The manager could not know the highly personalized ways that a craftsperson had learned from their mentor to do their job. So instead, what he proposed is, we're going to take a look at how all these people do their jobs, cut those jobs into tiny little segments, find the best practice in each, and train people. So you're going to come to a factory knowing nothing, and we're going to train you how to do your job. There was a time when this photograph probably looked like a positive thing, but what always sells to me the negatives is this guy's face. He doesn't look like a happy bunny. There's something in Taylorite production that strikes us as a little bit nasty now. And as we're thinking about education, probably the exemplars for us are Charles and Ray Eames. Whenever we get a chance, we'll buy one of their chairs. They're still making the stuff that looks like the best thing since sliced bread. And the other examples, and certainly was one for me at the Innovation Academy, are places like D-School. Look at this seductive character. He's so innovative, his floor is a whiteboard, right? So these are our models. There's something in the idea that quirkiness is back that makes us think about big books as well. So I'm going to give you an example of how sometimes the quirky thing can pay off. Is anyone in the room familiar with Pierre Ottomeyer? Does anyone know this guy? That's good. Okay. So Pierre Ottomeyer is running his wife's website back in 1995. She's a Pez enthusiast. And he decides he's going to take a chunk of this website and he's going to set up a new kind of market on it, maybe an auction space. So he calls it Auction Web. And the idea is that he could have a new market where anyone can trade anything and they can see each other's bids and offers. A totally new, transparent economy. Really cool idea. Now, he isn't able to get the URL Auction Web, so he ends up calling it eBay. So Pierre Ottomeyer is the guy who founds eBay back in the mid-90s. And on the first day that eBay opens, no one pays it any attention at all. So Pierre Ottomeyer goes to all the web forums he can find and he puts up the list of his inventory, which is actually household junk. And he asks people to bid. And so finally, he gets his first ever bid on eBay, and it's for this object. And Pierre Ottomeyer, instead of being happy, is now a deeply unhappy man. He is one of the world's biggest philanthropists. This guy's a very moral guy. And when he gets this order on his new site, he has to email the person who's put in the bid and say, "Sir, thank you for your bid on my new website, eBay. I'm afraid I can't accept it because the item you've bid on is a broken laser pointer." And the answer he gets back changes the world. The answer is, "I know, I'm a collector of broken laser pointers." So quirky is back in a big way, right? So when I was thinking of what all this means, right? So you've got quirkiness is back, the user's king online, content is controlled by the person at the other end, no more centers of authority having quite the same impact. What does all this mean? Well, what it probably means is there's a secret in participation. And where is the best example that I could find for what this would mean? I went digging for a while, and then suddenly it became incredibly obvious. Hip hop. Hip hop. At Sedgwick Avenue, in really what we would think of as a ghetto, cool DJ Herc gets 2 turntables, and he uses them, and he has to do a little bit of tinkering to do this, engineering. He uses them to lengthen the percussive part of some really catchy music. And in the tennis ball courts at the back of Sedgwick Avenue, an entire new form of music is founded that entirely disrupts its industry and has changed nearly everything in entertainment to some degree. Now that's what one guy with not much money at his disposal and some pretty rudimentary technology, that's what one guy could achieve. And we're seeing Moore's law and all that, we're seeing that performance power and price are starting to really have an impact. So there's no reason why we couldn't have more cool DJ Hercs, whether it's in digital stuff or other stuff. The question is how we teach them. And as we think about how we teach these people, we start maybe to feel a little bit insecure about what all this really means, right? So we've all, I think, had conversations in the last few years where we lament the fact that people are using the internet instead of using their own memories, that kids in school can search instead of know. And I thought it might be interesting to look back again in history. There was a moment in the Phaedrus. Socrates, I always call him Socrates because of Bill and Ted. Socrates has Amon accusing Thoth, so two Egyptian gods. He has them having a stand-up row. And Amon's problem with Thoth is that Thoth has given humanity the power to write. So this is going way back before the interwebs. And it's quite a nasty set of accusations. He says, you have given these people the ability to write, and you have essentially bankrupted their minds, and you're going to damage their souls. Because they can write things down and then read them, they will be hearers of many things and will have learned nothing. They will appear to be omniscient and will generally know nothing. They will be tiresome company, having the show of wisdom without the reality. So every word up there sounds like a much better edited version of The Shallows for anyone who read that not particularly great text. But there's a lot of this that I've noticed with educators who we were working with at UCD, a concern about a willingness to embrace and then a concern about what embracing means. And I think this is something that every generation that lives at the hinge in history probably feels. I have 6 seconds left, so I'm going to be slightly over time. Here's a summary of this little tour. First, you work at the hinge in history. It's probably an amazing time to be a teacher or an educator or a student. Second, the medium is and has always been social. And any successes that flow from the social part of the medium are probably bedded a little bit deeper than it might initially seem. Third, authority is changing. I should say second, authority is changing. And that's presumably a tough thing to adapt to. But also what it means is, as one adapts to the change in authority, it's part of enabling quirkiness to flow, of taking that technological grain that's underneath the internet protocols, that idea of requesting comments rather than telling people how it's going to be. There is something to that the technology will support. And very importantly, test early. Very importantly, test early and iterate. That was the lesson of the Marshmallow Challenge. It's the lesson that those people who have now left had learned. And with that, I shall leave you, and I think we're going to have a panel discussion. Thank you, guys.